There we go.
All right.
As we mentioned beforehand, thank you for cooking, even though you're on the road traveling or not in your own kitchen. I personally have kind of got used to it because I've been traveling a lot, but this is your first time cooking from a different kitchen.
So. I think I did. I cooked in a different kitchen with Nikki, but I wasn't the chef. So this is.
Oh yeah, so this is your first live from someone else's kitchen.
Yeah.
What made you pick this recipe?
It's fast and simple. It's gluten-free, vegetarian. It can sit out for hours at room temperature. You could serve it cold. Like I said, it's great for, hot weather picnicking. It's in a collection of recipes from one of my favorite cookbooks called Moosewood Cookbook. I love.
That's an old one.
Yeah, this is its 15-year anniversary somewhere along the way from my move.
That one looks like a new version. The one I have, the paper is almost falling apart.
Yeah, so I had one before. It was all written in, but I lost it when I moved back to St. Louis from Moab. But this is super simple. The only thing that you need to do in advance is cook your garbanzo beans or your chickpeas, or you can use canned, which I am doing. Remember to save the water, the aquafaba, for whatever you may use the juice from the garbanzo.
It's not necessary for this recipe, but don't waste that water.
No, had I had more energy, I would have found a recipe for that. In fact, I started to last night, but my time was not. I was busy. So
there you go.
So the name of the dish is gingery marinated chickpeas. And let me go through the ingredients list. You will need, obviously, I use 2 cans. They say the equivalent of 5 cups, which is just about 2 cans. And you want to drain and rinse the beans. You're going to use red onion or whatever onion you like. I like fresh lemon, but people use the real lemon that's in the bottle that you keep in the fridge. Fresh ginger and olive oil. So some tasty extra virgin olive oil. I have just the dregs of just a little bit of this real delicious one, and then I'm going to use this in it as well. And then a nice red wine vinegar. So then salt and pepper to taste. That's it. What is nice also about this dish, it tastes better and better as time goes by. The
longer it marinates, the more the flavors infuse.
Yeah, it's good right away, but you're really tasting the ginger and the onion. And as it marinates, those seem to lose their power and get blended into the juice of it. This dish, you could just eat as a salad. You can put it on top of a salad that's, like a green salad. When I have leftover juice, I always save that, and that'll be the start of my dressing. So I don't even throw the leftover juice away because it has all the onion and garlic, vinegar, olive oil, and lemon juice in it. So that's a great dressing in itself.
Now, when you cook the beans from scratch, do you ever eat this hot, or you always cool it down and then eat it?
It's always cooled down and then marinated. It's obviously better the more it marinates, but like I said, you can eat it right away. It's quite delicious. So.
Well, I was just wondering if you put all this stuff in it while it was hot, it might infuse it quicker. Yeah. Or do you always then cool the beans and then? Because I'm quick, so like I cook the beans, I put it all together, then I put it in the fridge to cool it.
That would work. That would work because, like you said, being that the beans are hot, somehow they'll, continue cooking in that marinade if they are picking up juice. So I see no problems. Like if you have a pressure cooker, because you can cook your beans quick, right, with your pressure cooker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just dump them in a bowl. I'm going to mix it up in a bowl, and then I'm going to transfer it into a big jar and make sure the jar seals well, because you want to every once in a while I'll do this to it when it's in the fridge to help the marinade.
Oh yeah, that oil and the vinegar will tend to separate. So if you would keep,
Yeah, and
them-
the oil also will get hard. So before you eat it, it's often better to take it out and let it warm up some, so the olive oil doesn't coagulate. So
now
I'm
you
gonna,
mentioned that you take the beans and you wash the beans.
I rinse them. I don't know why. I think it's to just remove anything. It's something I've always done. I also wash the top of all my cans before I open them, because I never, people touch them with their grimy hands, and who knows.
Well, I've seen a mouse turd on top of one before, because if they're in warehouses and stuff, even though they're in boxes, the mouse could walk across and then it falls into the box.
Disgusting.
I've seen one before.
Rinsing is good to reduce the amount of salt, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, rinsing any type of beans if you want to reduce salt.
But me and my relationship with salt, we will be adding salt. So I'm going to go ahead and just get started. This is not my can
That's
opener.
one of those magic ones that cut off the top of the lid. And
No, this one does have a lock on it that keeps it from opening up, so it takes up less room. And now it opens. No, this actually does the
okay.
inside the lid.
I remember the first time I used one of those, it took me like 10 minutes to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
I don't know why, but once I started using it, I liked it. But
so one of my complaints about those is you can't do this as easily with them.
oh, the ones that the lid comes off, yeah.
I rinse in a screen or in a colander.
Yeah.
I'll put it all in there and rinse.
I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna run the water over this and get this one started. Oh, it's magnetic.
Now, have you done it with other kinds of beans or just always?
I have not, and I knew you were going to ask me that, but if you do that, be sure you go back and post how it tasted. Garbanzo beans have a very distinct flavor and texture. So I don't, this marinade is good for just about anything once you taste it. It's strong on the ginger, so you have
and
to.
I feel like I've had this same salad once where they added like some bell pepper and carrots, but I felt they just added that for color, not really for flavor, because I don't think you need to add any flavor.
Couldn't you could add garlic also, could you not?
Oh, there's garlic in it. Did I not?
Oh, there is garlic. Okay. I didn't hear you mention it.
Yeah, we missed that. Thanks for catching that, Fred. So I'll go over the ingredient list here. It says 5 cups chickpeas or 2 cans, 5 to 6 tablespoons olive oil, 3 to 4 tablespoons lemon juice, 1 to 3 large garlic cloves minced, 2 tablespoons finely minced fresh ginger, 2 tablespoons red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon salt, a half a cup finely chopped red onion, and ground black pepper.
Just as a side note, if you do a lot of, different cuisines with Indian cooking, you might think about getting garlic ginger paste. I think a lot of Indian home cooks use that ginger garlic paste. It's all ground up. There's no fiber in it. You just take a couple scoops and, throw it in your dish. And obviously it's better to have fresh garlic and fresh ginger, but you don't always have them.
Yeah, I tend to buy fresh ginger and then not use it all, and it quickly turns fibrous because
Well, that's why the paste is good, because you just keep it in the fridge and it lasts a long time.
So my chickpeas are in the bowl. I am going to add the liquidy stuff first. So I'm starting with the 6 tablespoons of olive oil. This one only had 1 tablespoon left.
Man, you're actually measuring. Me, I'd be just like.
I like the flavors. So that's why I have a tendency to measure, because I like the ratio, and some things I don't, but other things I haven't gotten the knack yet of this one So I typically do the measuring.
Yeah, and in general, you want 4 to 1 with olive oil and vinegar, even though it varies from people's taste.
I mean, if you look at it, if you add the lemon juice and the vinegar together, it equals the olive oil exact.
I think I'm only going to put 5 instead of 6 in. And then the next is the red wine vinegar, 2 to 3.
And
so I'm going to do 2 for now.
And it also helps how quality it is. The more quality is, the less you have to use because it has more flavor.
Sure. Agreed.
That's my opinion, right?
Okay, so I got the vinegar, the olive oil, and then I'm gonna squeeze and get out my lemon juice.
Oh, you have one of those nice ones. So
What's it?
One thing I do with the lemon is I might beat it up before I cut it.
Yeah,
And then
roll
it seems like more juice comes out of it.
Yeah, you roll it on the counter.
This one was, these guys were pretty old, so they were pretty soft to begin with.
I use those little Mexican squeezers you can get most places.
Oh, like
because
with
yeah,
the
and
handle?
it holds the seeds back, and it's pretty easy.
When I'm at my house, I have a little strainer, but I didn't really take the time, so I'll just strain it as I go.
That's one thing I learned. If you don't have a strainer, you just get this, a actual squeezer. You just get a spoon and you kind of wiggle it around in there. If you're
well, a lot of people just literally strain it through their fingers, the seeds.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm gonna
yeah, I
do.
mean, if you don't have one of those squeezer things, you just get a spoon and you do it in your hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, catch the seeds. So.
Or you
That's
just
right.
fish them out.
That's why I'm saying there's nothing like that little, I call it a Mexican squeezer because it's very common in Mexico, but
Yeah.
made out of aluminum, cast aluminum.
Yeah, I always was a little leery of aluminum and acidic stuff going together, that it might strip off some of the aluminum.
Yeah, I think as long as it doesn't linger together, I think it's okay.
Yeah, but I do like how well they work, but I have one and I just tend to not use it because unless I'm doing a whole bunch of them. I have a bamboo one that's like just a skewer, and you can just do it with like a reamer.
I oftentimes just take a fork and do like this, and and then just go like so, and it seems to get pretty much all the juice out.
Try that with a spoon. I found that the spoon works really good, just like
yeah,
you did
spoon too.
But we're starting to get spoiled. They're starting to give us stuff without seeds.
Right? Well, but this fresh tastes so good. So that's 2, 3.
So far, chickpeas, olive oil, red wine vinegar, and lemon juice. My mouth right now is tasting that savory mix.
All right, next I'm gonna do the garlic. It calls for 2 to 3 cloves, or 1 to 2. It just depends on how much garlic you enjoy
and how big they are.
Exactly.
You guys have been seeing the giant elephant garlic I'm getting, and they're like 1 clove is like and how much garlic you like?
I personally put 2 cloves, but I am a garlicaholic, as I like to say.
You said that this very quickly, all the flavors tend to pull out the garlic and the onion and the ginger flavor.
Well, the vinegar will calm it down after a while. So I'm gonna get them skinned.
So yeah, looking over the recipe, I was like, there's not really any sweet, but then I thought red onion and the vinegar both have some sweetness to it.
Yeah, and in most vinaigrettes, quite often the recipe calls for a little bit of sugar or honey if it's a little too tart. But you can also moderate that by adding more oil, of course.
So I'm gonna mince this pretty fine. And I kind of like mincing versus putting it through a garlic press because I like the little pieces. But I will go pretty minced. I won't have any large chunks in this.
So you like that every once in a while you get a little burst of garlic.
Yeah, when you bite down on it for sure.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if you get it really small, the garlic flavor almost disappears.
Yeah, the going through the press really makes it I don't know, it releases like all the oils at once. So it's kind of nice to have some pieces set back.
And yeah, I mean, I've learned with garlic that if you add it to a recipe at different times, you know,
Yeah.
you get different flavors. Like there's this Thai dish that I really spice that I really like, and it's just, you know,
So this
garlic
is
and oil and hot peppers as
so this is about as fine chopped as I like it. You know, not it's pretty uniformed.
Yeah.
Let's go do one more pass.
You probably can't ever cut it enough, but I always feel like I could chop a little more even.
The more you chop it, the more the little pieces infuse into the whole thing. So my garlic is in there. I'm going to give it a quick stir.
Now, have you ever mixed the dressing up and let it infuse and then just poured it over the
No, but you know, I bet
right
you that
before
would
you
be
served it?
a good step, but you really do want the chickpeas to get marinated. So I would have a tendency not to do that because you want that infused, you know, when you infuse stuff, you want it to, that action to be happening to the chickpeas, not to each other personally. So
Got it.
But if your chickpeas are cooking and you're whipping it up, you know, on the spot, I don't see why you couldn't. Now, this is minced as well, but not quite as finely as I did the garlic. And the way I like to cut my onions, I keep it together. A lot of people half it, but I like keeping it together. And the side that doesn't have the root or the blossom part of it, I just go like this one way. And depending upon how small you want the pieces, that's how close you will. So when I'm done, I'll show you what it looks like on the top. And then one cut through it, they're already to the size that you want. Now we want a half a cup of minced onion. And I like the flavor of red onion in this. It's rather strong. Other onions just don't have the same kind of kick to
Now
it.
you're cutting all the way through or no?
No, I'm only cutting about halfway. So it's all cut this way and then this way. And then you'll see as I cut it, that's the
So I do that same thing, but first I cut the onion in half so I don't have to worry about that onion rolling.
Yeah. It falls apart on me when I cut it in half. I can't, because then you're cutting it like this, and I'm not quite as, I'm more adept at cutting from the top.
Okay.
Well, when it has the root on it, you can pull back that first layer and leave the root on it. And then when you cut it horizontally, that'll keep it together. And you can also kind of use a claw technique so you're not likely to cut yourself.
Yeah, I like that tip for when you're getting it really small like that.
Yeah, and so this is pretty small, but I'm going to just run the knife through it and get some of the bigger pieces.
Now, do you think you put the onion for the texture or the flavor?
Flavor.
Okay. So that's,
I'm starting to cry. My nose is starting to run.
and so it's better, I would think, to put a sweeter onion for this, because then you have some sweet in there looking at the.
No, but I tell you, there's something about this flavor. And I think the garbanzo beans are probably a little bit on the sweet side, but this, I like the oomph of the red onions. So that, can you see that? That's good.
Yeah.
Very finely chopped.
Nice.
So I'm just gonna make sure have at least enough. I may need to do more. So that's 1/4 of a cup. So I am shy. So I need to do a little bit more, and I'm gonna have to and what's nice about this too, if not going quite as far, is when you save your onion, it's still whole.
That's true. It'll stay
Stay
better
fresh.
longer.
Though onion doesn't last too well. And one of the things I've learned, and I didn't do it here because my daughter and son-in-law cook, I should have looked in the fridge to see if they had an onion started, but I didn't. So I'll get some more of this going. All right.
Now I noticed you saved all the onion skins, right?
I would put that in my thing to make soup, vegetable soup stock, but I just threw it.
Yeah, I keep three bags. One like red meat stuff, one chicken, and one veggie. And then I can make three stocks.
Okay. That's good. All right. Dump that in there. And then salt, pepper. Oh, I gotta do the garlic. I mean the ginger. One of the most important things.
You know how I do my ginger? I freeze the ginger and I use a plane to plane it.
Like grate it.
Yes, and that is, this way I can put it back in the freezer. I always have fresh ginger.
Oh, I need to do that, because I will buy ginger for a recipe and then just leave it in my bowl on the counter. And then the next time I need it, it's like dried up. And now, I mean, I have a spice grinder that I can grind it, but if it's a big piece, it's nearly impossible to grind it.
But when you freeze it with the peels on it, it's really good.
Oh, you have it in the freezer with the peels.
Yeah, with the peel on it, and I take it out and use a plane, and it makes it very nice. And I always have, like for tea and anything, I just keep it that way.
Okay.
Put hot water over it, and you get fresh ginger tea.
All right, so now for the ginger.
Yeah, anytime I peel, sometimes they ask to peel the skins. I always save that and freeze that for tea later.
Oh, the skins?
Yeah. I'm sure that's not,
Hygienically very correct. Yeah.
No, I mean, ginger tea, they tend to use the quality ginger, not the skin, but I don't know. I didn't grow up during the Depression, but I had parents that didn't waste anything. So I got the habits.
Yeah.
All right, so usually I take a spoon, but it's not coming off. So I'm just going to trim this real close with a knife.
Oh, you use a spoon to try to scrape it off?
Yeah, but I'm starting with a real tiny piece. I hate to waste any of it, so.
Yep. Now, do you always peel it?
Yeah, I never use the skin of ginger. It's kind of like the skin of an onion for some reason. It's just not part of the flavor. Let's start. Here's a big piece. Let's see if I can do my spoon action. Yep, it's working on the bigger pieces.
And you actually have a decent amount of ginger. You got 2 tablespoons, which is the same amount as red wine vinegar.
Well, that's why it's called gingery chickpea marinated chickpeas. It
They're
gets
not holding
a-
back on the ginger. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When I first started using fresh ginger, it always put me in mind of the smell of soap, but it doesn't really taste like soap. It's actually very floral to me. I guess that's what puts me in mind of soap.
Huh. Yeah, I never would have thought of soap, but
Oh,
I guess I didn't grow up really with like flavored soaps or, you know, smelly soaps.
smelly soaps, yeah.
We tended to make our own, and the smell was not important.
Oh, you made your own soaps. Fun.
Well, let's say we made a batch and they tend to be so big it lasted us like 3 years. Just like,
Wow.
it was just like, that's why people probably sell soap, because they make a batch once and they're like, well, I need 1 bar, 2 bars for the year. And, you know, I don't know. But that was a joke in our family that can't wait until we can use up this batch of soap. I think we did one with oatmeal in it, and it was just, that was kind of a rough. It was supposed to be not rough, but it tended to be more rough instead. So anyway, let's not talk about soap while we're cooking.
Oh yeah,
Talk about staying clean.
I'm doing the same, you know, chopping method that I did for the garlic. Just keep running the knife through until it's the size you want. And
You ever use like mechanical, like those little teeny food processors?
not for this. You know, I haven't really gotten accustomed to using food processors, even for things that, I mean, I do it for shredding. If I'm doing like potato pancakes, I love to do that in the food processor on the with a grate plate on it.
Yeah, I tend to not like to use it if I'm just using it for one thing, unless I'm making lots of something.
Yeah.
But in this case, you're mincing a few different things, so maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it would work. You know how people use those little coffee grinders for spices?
No, that would make more like a paste.
Yeah, I don't want to paste.
So I
Otherwise,
would do that. Yeah, I've done that before, where I would grind like the bits of ginger you have left over, and then spread it out on a thing and dehydrate it. Make, you know, ginger.
oh,
powder.
dehydrate the ginger. That's interesting.
Yeah. I just try to figure out ways to not waste anything that's quality.
Yeah.
So.
And this is pretty fresh ginger. It's not as fibrous as some of my stuff has been.
Yeah, I have I think it's a 3-cup Cuisinart. And I use it if I'm making something like chimichurri or something, small quantity. That's about all I
that's
use
like
it for.
as fine as you could possibly get.
Yeah, when you're making something where you want everything really fine, then that works. But I don't use it
Well,
that
that's-
often, actually.
That's where they used to do the mortar and pestle. Have you ever seen the mortar and pestles where they're like a 5-gallon one, and it's a big thing, and it has like a tree branch to pick it up, so it's not, and you have to pull it down, and then the tree branch picks it up, and that's a bit.
Wow. Funny you should mention it, because I've had mortar and pestle kind of on my list for a long time. And I had a birthday in August, and it was one of my wish list things. So one of the kids bought me, I got it's marble. It's relatively small because, you know, I'm just probably gonna, you know, use it to grind spices and things like that. But
Yeah,
I now have a
small
mortar.
one.
Yeah, I now have a mortar and pestle, which I did not have before.
So that looks like just about a tablespoon, and that's as fine as I like it. So let's just see. What did I do with my tablespoon?
Now I ended up with my mortar and pestle. I think it's stone because it's like from the Mexican store. But I always wondered about the wood ones. They have like
That
That
seems like it would pick up odor, doesn't it?
Well, they have like the wood ones are usually like a super hardwood, like I'm trying to think, Meg,
you need to season them with
mahogany, maybe.
season them first with oil so it doesn't penetrate your
Ah, there you go.
and that works, you know, or linseed oil or whatever. You rub it just like you do a rub on any woodwork stuff.
That was just 1 tablespoon. I like the flavor of ginger, so I'm just gonna do a little bit more. And then
Well,
add the
you have
salt.
2 tablespoons in your recipe.
1 to 2 it's well, see, the recipe that I have in front of me says 1 to 2. So yeah, that
Okay.
was 1. I may not do quite 2, but and then all we need to do is add the salt and pepper, and I'll put it in a bowl so you guys can see what it looks like. I could hear the party in the background.
Oh yeah, people keep showing up.
Well, we're almost done, so.
I finished and I have it in the fridge, but I didn't have the red vinegar, and I just used white vinegar and put a little bit of what you call it, Madeira vinegar in it.
Oh, wow, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess taste it because if you might want to add a little sweetness to it later.
You put the lemon in it?
I don't have a lemon, so you know.
Oh, okay, so you're missing a couple of the typical
Oh,
ass.
do you have some lemon juice?
I got some in the freezer, totally frozen lemons. My
Oh,
lemon.
okay.
Lemon or lemon juice? If it's lemon juice, let it thaw and throw it in there. Because that's another nice acid, and it is its own flavor.
Now, Lulu, you said you bring this to potlucks, and do you just serve it straight in a bowl, or is it
Yeah, it'll just be
with
sitting out.
crackers or chips as a dip, or?
No, if I'm just bringing it as a dip, I'll also bring other things that I like I have these marinated roasted green peppers with whole garlics. That also is in a marinade of just vinegar and oil, and you have whole garlics and just whole roasted green beans, and you serve that room temperature. So you just put it out, and then as people are going by, they take a spoonful and put it on their dish.
Did you say whole green beans?
Yeah, whole, and sometimes they have the thinner green beans, but regular green beans. Or you can cut them to bite-sized pieces, whatever you like. But you just roast it in olive oil with whole peeled garlic. The recipe calls for a dozen, and I have learned to double it because everybody goes by and picks through and just eats the garlic because it's roasted. So it's got that
That
wonderful.
sounds phenomenal.
Oh, I
Those are
almost
like my 2 favorite things, like roasted garlic and green beans. I'll go to like a Chinese buffet and just get a plate of green beans.
Oh,
This is picnic safe because there's no mayonnaise, which means eggs, so there's no mayonnaise in it.
right. And that may be something I will make, if you want me to, is the roasted green beans, along with maybe something that I call Odessa beets. They're more cold weather because you're using your oven. That's one thing nice about this dish. You're not using your oven. So hang on. Whoops.
It's nice. This is nice because I mean it's a cooled but very like peppy, flavorful dish.
Let me
So you leave it, all right, and you can keep it for how long in the refrigerator?
this probably about a month.
Really?
I never had it go bad because typically when you make it with the vinegar and the lemon juice and it has olive oil, it doesn't really go bad. So that's how
I mean, the olive oil will float to the top and seal it in really too.
No, I don't think so. It's pretty well blended. If you look at the juice, I guess it would separate. But now I need to add some black pepper and some salt. And if I were you, I would taste it at this point. I know for a fact that it does need salt. So I'm probably going to put maybe a half a teaspoon of salt. And then probably a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper.
So you make this enough and it's so precise, but I would like always say, taste something before you put salt.
Yeah.
Well, I have made this so many times, and I did rinse the beans. So there's
Yeah,
really
so you rinse the salt off of them, yeah.
And then let me just show it to you in a bowl so you can see what it looks like. But let me show you this because you can see, can you see the marinade? It's kind of swimming in it.
Not really, but probably, yeah. Oh yeah, now I see it. You moved it, there's a puddle in the middle.
You can see it just swimming in it. And
Yep.
it smells wonderful.
You know, the red onions. I had some extra one and I just used it with vinegar and pickled it.
Yep, that's
Ooh.
delicious.
And I wonder if I use those in here because this way it, you know, I have problem with gassy stuff, you know.
Well, if you leave a red onion in it long enough, they'll turn white and pull all the purple out.
Yeah, this doesn't really happen with this, but this is how it looks. I don't have very good light.
Now, I feel like I've had a garbanzo bean salad just like this, where they added some like parsley right before they served it.
Yeah, if you like parsley, you can. So I'm going to do the taste test and I can tell you if it's missing anything. It's perfect. But this is like my go-to. For
This
sure.
mix of flavors just like hits every one of your taste centers.
I like it fresh because it is very garlicky and gingery and oniony. But when it marinates, the flavors go into the garbanzo beans. For some reason, I think the garbanzo beans are the carrier for the marinade because you really don't get a lot of flavor of the garbanzo beans when it's super fresh like this. But even just letting it marinate for 3 or 4 hours, it'll change. So
now, does the marinade disappear? Does it absorb it?
no,
I wouldn't think it would at all because the beans are cooked.
Yeah, and the beans are kind of pretty
But
tough.
the flavor infuses, but the liquid's still on the out.
And that's why I said, as you eat this down, you'll have like, if I eat this bowl, there's going to be, you know, a tablespoon of marinade left at the bottom, you know, and it's not something you would ever really want to waste. So when I typically take it out, I just scoop it out with not a whole lot of juice, and the juice gets stayed. So everything keeps getting marinated more and more. But
so you serve it at a picnic with a spoon with holes in it so that it won't get the juice.
Yeah, because you really don't want, because then the juice will hit the plate and go into everything else and flavor that.
Now, you said you really like garlic and ginger. Do you ever like add a little fresh garlic or fresh ginger, like, 3 weeks later when you want?
No, it balances. I've never had the need to add more. The flavor does, calm down. Like right now, it's like I got a big hit of onion, big hit of garlic, big hit of ginger. But 2 or 3 days in the fridge, it's probably perfect. And it lasts indefinitely. It really does. It doesn't normally last that long in my house because it's nice. I can put it in a little jar, let's say like this, and have a serving. And it's almost, it's a protein being that it's beans. So it's really healthy. It's fast. It's a nice summer dish.
All right. Anybody has any final questions? I was just like, I have to go home and make it.
No, it's easy to go.
I have seen one version that was slightly different in that they got a few of the garbanzo beans and they squished them with a fork and made it a little creamier.
Ooh, and like you said, maybe if I had 1 can of green beans or garbanzo beans, I was wondering, if another bean would Well, it would change the look because it's pretty
Right.
monochromatic in color. But maybe adding a can of rinsed black beans might be interesting with the
Because I
garbanzo.
grew up in the south of the US and they had 5-bean salad. And
Yeah,
it was similar. It didn't have the ginger, but I felt like it had the other ingredients in there. And I want to say a little Italian seasoning.
So the
That's what they tended to
5-bean
do.
the 5-bean also includes green beans, right?
It can. Yeah,
I
usually it
think
does.
I've seen that. I don't,
Yeah.
if you had a can of 5-bean beans and use this marinade, it'd probably be heavenly. It is the combination of the garlic, ginger, and onion. So
I just want to make that mix as a dressing. Just to
yeah,
have
well,
it,
that's what I'm saying. When
have
you're
it
done,
marinated in the fridge to put on anything.
and you could, I have oftentimes when I've made a salad, just taken a whole, couple spoonfuls with all the juice and stirred it up, and it didn't really need much more dressing. But I like my salads lightly dressed. I don't like them dripping in salad dressing. So, but that
All
is
right.
it. That's the.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy life right now and and being in a different kitchen even and sharing with us
Well, and
and making
Riley,
my life easier while I'm traveling for this wedding to
yeah,
not know if I'd have a kitchen or not. There's a
well,
kitchen there, but there's probably like 30 people in it right now, like snacking and partying.
oh, okay. So,
I've got to go.
all
Have a
right.
good one.
Good job, Lulu.
Thank you.
Enjoy yourself, or.